Welcome to the Tao of Pizza, where we feature top logistics leaders, entrepreneurs, and supply chain innovators and share their inspiring stories with a holistic twist.
All right, Mark Hiddleson here, host of the Tao of Pizza podcast, where I talk with top industry innovators in the warehousing, logistics, and supply chain business with a holistic twist. Before I introduce today's guest, Jeremy Van Puffelen, this episode is brought to you by Specialized Storage Solutions. Look, I've been in the logistics and storage industry for several decades. We provide industry-leading warehouse storage solutions nationwide. So basically, if you have a warehouse that needs racks, shelving, carts, conveyors, or mezzanines, we help with the design, engineering, installations, inspections, and repairs to help our clients optimize their logistics operation. And Jeremy is funny. Sometimes people don't even realize we can actually help with permit acquisition services as well. So we deal with the red tape so you don't have to. We take a holistic look at your entire business supply chain ecosystem to develop the resources for continually improving your operation. To learn more, visit our website at specialracks.com or give us a call at 707-732-3892. And just for podcast listeners, I give out my personal email, which is markhiddleson@aol.com. Yes, I still use AOL, and I'm proud of it. If you're ready to take your warehouse storage and retrieval systems to the next level, drop me a line. And one more thing before I introduce Jeremy, I got to give a huge shout out to Michelle Carroll for introducing me to Jeremy. Michelle is the president of Corolco Marketing, where they specialize in sectors like logistics, supply chain management, high tech, and software. Their services include market entry, brand building, website design, public relations, and integrated marketing campaigns. She is also the executive director of IZIP, the International Society of Service Innovation Professionals. And she was a great guest on the podcast a few years ago. So thank you very much, Michelle. And today we're joined by Jeremy Van Puffelen. And Jeremy has served as president of PRISM Logistics since 2022 after years in just about every other job in the company, starting in the warehouse and leading business development as PRISM doubled its size and volume twice in the past decade. He serves on the board of IWLA, the leading organization for developing logistics professionals that serve as their voice in Washington. He's been named a pro to know by supply and demand chain executive, and has been getting a great deal of press lately for pioneering investment in AGVs and automation in his fast-growing warehouse network in Northern California. Jeremy, welcome to the Tao Pizza.
No, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I had to give Michelle is so awesome. I've known her for almost 30 years. We served together. We were always doing some kind of industry event.
Yeah, Michelle's a great lady. We've been working with her for quite some time, and it's nice to have someone that you can rely on just to pump great content and kind of help push things forward. So it's been a good relationship.
Yeah, and when you're volunteering, in 10 years we were doing 4 or 6 tours, it's always good, on the people you can count on to show up at something. You got 40 or 50 people showing up, and someone's got to do the registration. Somebody's got to pass out the brochures, introduce the speaker, and she's been a dynamo.
Yeah, she's been great.
So share a little bit about, I like to ask about your background, where you grew up, and how you got started in the logistics industry.
Sure. Well, it really starts with my father and what he got into. So he used to run the YMCA in Savannah, Georgia, and then when he met my mom, they were deciding to create a family. He was looking for something that might do a little bit more for him to support that family than running the YMCA. Moved to Colorado. His brother-in-law and sister were there, and brother-in-law had a bank and was helping finance for this company called Acme Distribution, still in Colorado today. So he ran out there and started unloading boxcars and was just kind of brought in to help pump things and move boxes around, and quickly grew. So long story short, he really enjoyed the logistics industry, had the opportunity to grow at Acme, and then moved on from there. Moved to California in 81 to help turn the company around, and was doing that for quite a while. And then after a little while, in 93, decided to start his own company, PRISM Logistics, with his partner, Paul Van der Rovar. So after doing it for other people for a while, they got going. Then he had 5 kids, and I think he was nervous as could be in '93. My sister just graduated high school. I was going into my junior year, and then I have 3 younger siblings. So he was definitely nervous about taking that leap, but he did, and we all benefited from that. So I graduated high school in '95, and I wasn't really planning on going to work with Dad, but somehow ended up doing that in '96. And he needed a janitor. And it was we had a warehouse and small warehouse, 40,000 square feet, where we did flour for General Mills. He needed a janitor and was tired of me sitting on his sofa. I had a broken leg, and so he was going to put me to work. So I had a cast from my hip to my toe, and he said, "It'd be great. Just walk around with a broom and start throwing bags of flour." And did everything he could to make me really just like working for him. And somehow it stuck. I kind of got into it, and after a few years, really kind of in the 2000s, got a little bit more serious about growing in the business, and fell in love with it. Really enjoyed it, and I enjoy the operations side of it. Really enjoyed loading and unloading trucks and the daily operations portion of it. Um, got opportunities to move up through, driving a forklift, and then running the office, and then running the warehouse, and then running multiple warehouses, and then development, and so on and so on, and just really have enjoyed pretty much every aspect of the business. So here we are today, and I've grown into. I'm the president, but we really kind of run by committee. We have an executive team, and I might get the title, but we really have a group of presidents that we're all working together to move the company forward. So I'd love to take the credit. We've got a team that has been in the industry for a long time, and they do a great job of just keeping things moving the way they should.
Yeah, I met your dad through the Warehousing Education and Research Council. I was on the Northern California Council for 10 years early in my career. And we put on 4 or 5 tours every year. And your dad was one of the regular faces, Jerry and Ray. I don't know if you know Ray. You know Ray Wilkinson and Dennis Lee?
I know Dennis, yeah,
Yeah.
and I think I've met Ray. I don't know him well, but I've met Dennis a handful of times for sure.
Yeah, so those guys, we served together on the board. That's how I met Michelle. So it's an interesting journey. And I didn't realize he worked at Acme. There's a lot of people. I think a lot of people worked at Acme. I've heard that name
Yeah.
come up. Um, so and the thing, you love this business. It's interesting. I love this business too, like a little more than I should. People are like, it's shelves, right? And I'm like,
In the blood, right?
yeah, but it's a fascinating business. Like, you talk about flour for General Mills. A lot of people don't realize, you think they're making cereal. They just have everything there on site that they need and everything. But there's this whole distribution network where their ingredients come from, and the timing, how they buy it. So it is fascinating. Um, and you've had a lot of success in business development, obviously doubling in the 2 decades. So I was curious. I want to ask you, how did the lessons you learned on the operations side or warehousing or the janitor, how did that translate into business success or business development success?
That's a great question, and I think I've actually talked about this at the IWLA, at the Essentials course a little bit, just going through and telling people, if you're coming here and you're in operations, then you know as much about sales probably as your sales guys, and I think that having that background of operations helps you understand what your customers are about, the movement of the products, the movement of the goods, the importance of getting things done in a timely fashion, but it also helps you internally understand this is how much it costs us to do something. It's if somebody tells me, "Hey, this should take you an hour." From the customer standpoint, I could say, "No, that's really kind of a 2 3 hour gig." But then on the other side, internally, if somebody's telling me, "Hey, this is taking us 5 hours," no, I've done that. I know this really only takes an hour or two, and so I think you get a fair balance when you've been able to run through the operations to be able to price things accordingly, which I think in any business development relationship when you're working with your clients, price is obviously a key factor for everyone. And I think once you kind of work through that in an honest way, that's what helps build the relationship on the development side. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're all looking for is a good long-term relationship. But for that to work, everyone's got to be fair, right? Everyone's got to have the same understanding of, yes, this does work, this doesn't work. I can't go too high, they can't go too low. So if you understand that and you understand the pricing and the timing and everything it takes, then operationally, I think it helps you a ton as you move through the business development side. And so I would tell all the guys coming up through that IWLA who are just on the business development side of the sales side, you really need to spend time on the floor. You need to understand how your warehouse is set up, the movement of goods, how long it takes for your operators in the warehouse to do certain tasks, if not all the tasks, which, is probably tough for them. They might not have that time. But I think it's a key ingredient is you got to know what you're doing within your four walls to be able to price it correctly.
Yeah, that's nice. And knowing what you're committing, because you talk about the most important thing is building lasting relationships. Uh, it's basically about making commitments and keeping commitments. That's what I tell the teams. And then you're not going to be 100% on making every single commitment. And so when the times you don't, you better find creative ways to make up for it and find ways where you can both win.
Yeah.
I saw on your website, I like to go, always go to the about page. Like, oh, let's skip the front of all the advertising. But I saw something on there that I love. I want to hear your definition of it, but it said, we succeed when you do. And I think you're talking about your clients and your partners, your employees, right? Or you're
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, it's, you have to have a good team in place. So our team, our employees, the people that we're working with on a daily basis, they have to enjoy what they're doing. And, we're all coming to work at the end of the day, right? And some of us love it more than others might love it, but you want it to be a good place for people to come. And when our teams are successful, we know that's also driving results for our customers. And when our customers succeed, then we in turn also succeed across the board. It allows us to put back into our own team. It allows us to grow what we're working on, continuing developing the business. So if you're constantly replacing business and replacing relationships, then there's a cost that goes with that, right? To sell and replace space and do all those things, and building that longevity in the relationships where, again, going to that fair process where it's an open dialogue and a good relationship with our clients, building that longevity and being fair allows them to succeed, but it also gives us that tenure where we can continue to build our group internally and move people up through the process, make them better. It's pretty circular, and the better our team is, the better service we provide, the more we can grow. So, yeah, it all works together. But I think that's really where it's at. When our customers succeed, we succeed. When we succeed, our customers succeed. It's really a relationship, it's a partnership, and everyone's got to do their part.
because in the consumer packaged goods, which it's interesting, CPG, I've learned what CPG was when I started the podcast, even though my clients like you, they're storing, but those brands, a lot of the stories, they grow from a small brand to pretty big. So do you have some success stories where somebody started out, because you're in, it's third party warehousing and logistics. So somebody could have, 100 pallets or 1,000 pallets or more. You have any success stories where you really help somebody grow? And even because people can't sell into big places like Costco or Walmart unless they work with a partner like you, right? Is that, I kind of understand the business, but like that.
I think at the end of the day, they have to have a logistics network that can provide services to their clients. They can still sell into whoever they want, whether Prism is a part of their network or not. We're not really getting involved in the sales channel like a distributor might. We're not buying and reselling anything, so we support their sales efforts through making sure that the logistics are handled hopefully flawlessly. Right? I think we do that
Yeah.
the majority of the time. So if we're on time, in full, and it's a good solution for the people we're delivering to on their behalf, their customers, and their customers are happy with that network, it makes life easier for them and their salespeople. We've definitely seen clients grow over the years. Sometimes it's starting off with 50 to 100 pallets, and yeah, we're seeing them grow, and they're landing new contracts, and they got a good reputation of being on time with deliveries, and their logistics process is good, and we can support there, and that helps their growth. It helps their growth also from not having to worry about the logistics side. They can focus on selling and making, or making and selling. And then we've also seen a lot where just organic growth with clients where they might start using us for a little bit and they've got a much larger network than what we're handling for them. And just through good service and good communication, good relationships, we're able to continue building on the relationships that we have and maybe take on additional, instead of just being overflow, they realize, hey, you guys can ship to Costco, you can ship to Walmart. You guys want to handle some of our customer orders now instead of just, overflow and then bring it back to us kind of thing. And we've grown a lot in that direction as well over the years.
Yeah. Nice. So I'm dying to ask you about the automatic guided vehicles, the AG.
Yeah.
Um, so tell us about how did that project get started? How did it evolve? I mean, share as much as you can, because that's something I go to ProMat every year and I see the first year there was like Kiva was 10 years ago. Now there's 30.
Yeah, it's growing quickly. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the WMS systems were 25 years ago, right? It's kind of seeing that same evolution with the AGVs and some of the AI stuff. And yeah, to be honest, when I was just getting started and, on the business development side, maybe even a little bit before that, I remember that we're probably going back, I don't know, 15 years. And, I'd been to a few shows and remember telling my dad, hey, I really think that we need to have basically a virtual warehouse at some point in time. I think that'd be really cool where we get to a place where we're utilizing our talent and our people for whatever max effort we can, but it's limited touch and our customers can see inside of our four walls and really see what's happening on a daily basis, whether that's through video or whatever it may be. And he kind of laughed at me, and rightfully so at that point in time. It was kind of pipe dream of a aggressive young sales guy kind of thing, I guess. But as we were going through it, and we're starting to see some AGVs develop a little bit more. About 5 years ago, and started digging into it, and really wanted to get to a place where we can continue to grow. And we weren't looking at it from the standpoint of replacing labor. It was, how do we maximize that labor? How do we continue to train the people that we have to run things and grow in the company? But as the company's growing, if we want to open up a new location, how do we do that with the crew that we have and the people that we know and have trained over the years? And how do we seed that operation, with people that we know get it off to a good start quickly? So it was a growth opportunity, I think, as much as anything, utilizing those AGVs and having that within the network where it's a flexible process for us where we can move those between facilities with the people that we have to seed something new allows us to hopefully grow a little bit quicker. We're 10 months into them being live. So, it's I think it's been a good pilot for us. There's definitely some things we've learned in the process. And when we started it 5 years ago, had a very specific design of what we wanted the AGVs to do. It was really just around eliminating travel time in the warehouse. So we were still relying on our own operators for loading, unloading trucks, some of the put away, case picking, those kind of things. But eliminating that time from running from the back of the warehouse to the dock to pick up a pallet to take it back to a put away location. So that was our first solve. And I think even in that 5 year gap to now, there's been a lot of improvements in what AGVs can do and some of the things. So we'll continue, but it's definitely helped us with that, cutting out some labor. What I would say is relatively wasted labor, right? You're just driving a forklift back and forth. So
Man,
that has,
there's no value add there. Like if you got somebody who can pick 600 cases an hour and be 99.9997 accurate and everything, or
Yep.
get things, and this is not that.
it's not that. So, and yeah, it's a lost time leader, right? When you look at it, not just the travel time, but what happens in between when people stop to talk or what, it's just a lost time leader, that travel time. So
Yeah.
that was our first solve. It's worked out pretty well. We'll continue moving forward with how we're gonna approach it in the future. There's other things we want to keep on doing.
So can I ask you some more specific questions?
You can ask away.
And you could always say no.
Okay.
So it took 5 years, and I'm just kind of curious of that. Like even for me as a in business development in our business, what was that? So 5 years. Um, how long before you got the design? So what were kind of the times? Like there was probably must have been 2 to 3 years design, and then once you implement it, because there's a lead time to
Yep.
install the systems and all that. So kind of what was that critical path?
Yeah, so 5 years ago, it was the idea. Do we want to start looking into this and really kind of the grassroots of it? How are we going to approach this? What do we want to solve if we look into this? And then, you know, having a few discussions within our executive team and saying, yeah, I think that this is a good move. You know, going forward, I think it solves a few of these issues for us. So outlining our game plan essentially for what we're going to do. Then it was, 4.5 years and or ago, started to look at who are the partners that are making something at this point in time that might fit the solution that we're looking for, and starting to kind of whittle down the partnerships that we would look at from that standpoint. Raymond West has been a great partner for us for a lot of years for a lot of things. And, just in talking to them about, hey, I'm starting to look at this, they weren't on our list at first. And then they said, hey, by the way, we have a solve for that as well. If you guys want to take a look and throw our name in the hat, just when you're going through it, we'd love to come out and take a look and walk through it with you. So put them in the mix. And I think we really only looking at 3 companies 4.5 years ago that had anything that we were really wanting to look at for what we were trying to solve. Felt comfortable just in the relationship with the direction we headed with Raymond. And then, it's 6 months of review with them, I guess, maybe a little bit more, and then figuring out pricing and how we want to go through all that. And then the contracts and the kind of figuring out from a pricing standpoint, is this going to work and what's the ROI going to be and how long is it going to take and all the fun stuff you do when you make a large investment. And large investment for us,
It's a large investment.
it's probably different for other companies.
Yeah.
But small family business, it was a large investment for us, both in time, but also finance. It's like, this is something we're going to have to put a fair amount of effort into getting off the ground. So then it was getting through, sign the contract. And then once we're getting through that, it was about an 18-month lead time to build the units. And then during that last, I want to say 3 months of the 18 months to the end of 2024, they're coming out and they're doing the site visit and they're walking through and they got to do all the mapping and all those kind of things. And then kind of went live and, end of last year, beginning of this year, really. So it was really more of a 2-year look at where we're at and what's going on. And then about 18-month life cycle to get everything done and shipped out here. And then we've been on it for just about a year. So, pretty close to 5 years from, hey, this is a good idea, to let's get it done, let's implement, let's figure it out.
I love that. Thank you for going through it too. That was exactly the question. Sometimes you ask a question and somebody answers a different question, but that was exactly what I was asking. What I love about it, I like a lot of things about it, but so you chose your vendor. It sounds like you spent a couple years just kind of dipping your toe in the water, finding out who the players are. But you really didn't have any formal proposal or budget numbers, or was it when you chose your vendor? It was a trust-based relationship. I mean, Raymond, they're kind of a competitor of ours. They do what we do, but they focus a lot on the equipment. I mean, they're great. Their reputation, like Crown and Raymond.
Yeah, we like them a lot. The big fan.
So what, besides the relationship, or was it just the relationship, or there are other things? Because I like that you chose the vendor, because there's a lot of work for you guys. It's a lot of work for a vendor just to get to proposal stages. So like before you really got deep into the weeds, you chose your vendor. What was the criteria? Besides, relationship to me and the company reputation's obvious.
I told you we had a pretty limited scope of who we were looking at. I think we were really only looking at 3, and I'm not going to give out any of the names, but, in getting through the 3, one of them just didn't feel right as far as, where they were at with the technology at that point in time. One of them was a relationship that I was actually pretty excited about, potentially helping them develop it, but it wasn't quite ready yet either. And then from a relational aspect, as we were working through that and getting, I would say relatively close to taking a look at doing something, it just wasn't feeling like the right relationship. So kind of started backing out of that and having more conversations with Raymond. And when they said, hey, we do have a solve for this, and looking at it and going through it with our team, felt like it would be a good connect for us. They introduced us to the team, that makes the AGVs. We felt good about what they were doing and saying, and we went back and we checked it out. Flew out and watched the AGVs in action in another location. And it felt good about what they were doing with them, and a little different than how we were applying what we were going to do. But I got to see it, and it really made sense. So, it was the relationship side with Raymond definitely helped. As we work with him on so many different projects across the board that it's been a great relationship. And I was very comfortable knowing that when we did this, it's not going to be something where all of a sudden our provider of this new project that we're working on, the relationship is going to fall apart in 6 months, and then we're stuck holding the bag trying to figure out what we're going to do. So there's just a lot of confidence, both in the system and how we want to run it, and the actual process, as well as the relationship with both companies, Muratech and Raymond West. So,
Yeah, I'm advertising for my competitors on my own show.
Sorry.
Well, hey,
all I can do is answer the questions you ask.
I did. I love it. I read the article in DC Velocity. I was going to ask you, is it anywhere else? That was a nice piece. That was Michelle had told me you were working on it, but I saw that article. Is there anywhere else where people can check out, learn more information about just that particular project or PRISM?
Yeah, they can always go to www.prismlogistics.com, and that's PRISM logistics.com. And we post those things out there. I think you can find it on LinkedIn. Definitely. I think anywhere where people are communicating business thoughts, it's probably out there. DC Velocity, obviously great, but and then it's out there in the World Wide Web somewhere, a few places. But I'd go to prismlogistics.com. We'd love to see the traffic.
Yeah, and that'll be in our show notes. I'll always do a show notes of every, like we mentioned, a book or somebody will put a link. So I'm still debating about the Raymond West, but we'll go. Everyone knows how to get a hold of Raymond. They're everywhere, and I think you chose a great partner because the thing is that it's what you're doing. You're replacing the job that the lift was doing, so they have all this background and knowledge of. Not just your business. They're doing so many different cold store. They're big in cold stores. They're big in everything. So they've got the experience, and then, like you said, the background. They're not going to mess up a relationship with selling X amount of forklifts a year.
And when you look at it, just one thing there, like if you're looking at it also from what does this thing look like in 5 years or 10 years, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't have to have Muratech or the AGV team come out to fix the lifts, right? So it works within our current network moving forward. And with the other providers, you're looking at somebody else having to come in. So now you got maybe a Raymond Tech and then some other guy from another company tech in the facility. And it just helped us, again, at the comfort level, no one moving forward. We had everything we needed.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if there was crossover with the techs that work on the lifts. It isn't. So they have their own team.
So they went through the process with us, right? And they got their team trained up on the AGVs like we did. And so they're fully capable of handling the units for us now, which is a benefit.
Nice. So it is a separate. So this is one I wanted to ask is, have there been any big pitfalls or mistakes that you've learned from over the years that you want to share?
About anything, or
it could be anything, it could be business, personal. We're trying not to do anything family on this, but I just, a big mistake that you learned a lot from.
Gosh, man, I've probably stepped in more than one pile over the years for sure. Biggest mistake. I would say, instead of a mistake, I think one of the things, and I've got a great team to help me here, but one of the things that I can tend to do is probably jump in head first and just let's just go, let's go. And so I think just in general, for me, being able to slow down and really look at all the information to make a good decision is something that my team has helped me with over the years. My dad definitely being one, but some good mentors in my life. Our VP of operations, Mike Mail, he has been with us for, gosh, a long time, 26+ years, and then 10 years with my dad before that at another company. So they've always been there. Hey, it's okay not to put the rose-colored glasses on. Just take a step back, take a look at what's going on around you and everything going on. So I think just that more than anything is just be sound in your decisions, walk it through, take a look, don't jump right into everything. I think that's one. We'll see. We're young into the AGV process. It's working well, but I, it was one of those things. Do we want to be on the leading edge, and kind of get it going now, or do we want to wait 5 years until it's um, in industry a whole lot more and much more rampant with a bunch of different people and be a little slower to get to market, but maybe have a lower cost basis? Was it a mistake? I don't think so. But there's probably some lessons that we'll learn over the next year or two. But I'm still happy with the decision. So, yeah, lots of little things, but I've had a lot of warnings along the way to say, hey, why don't you back that up a little bit so I don't make too grandiose of a mistake, I guess.
So that's a great answer. It would be one of my answers. Somebody, people have asked me, and I went to it was a mastermind or a thing, a business retreat or something, and there were three categories. You could either be ready, aim, fire, but I'm fire, aim, ready.
Yeah.
That's what it's like, let's
Yeah.
fire, and then it's like, well, we better start aiming, and then hey, maybe we should have gotten ready. So
Yeah.
and so it's a good, when you're in business, like you said, is part of it is, especially if you want new clients, new markets, things are changing faster. So you do have to uh, take some chances. And I love what you said about the support network. I don't have it. Uh, we're the first generation. I also want to say both my sons have worked for me, so I know it's easy to work for your dad.
It's fantastic.
It just comes naturally. So there's some challenges there. But it's also you create, we talked a little bit before the call. I'm assuming it's a small company, there's a family culture to the whole business too. So what are you doing to so you're second generation, I guess. So how are you passing that culture? Or hey, you've got a network of support here, but if you do make mistakes, there's a safety net, or don't freak out over it. We'll figure it out. How are you?
Yeah, I don't think we we're not gonna rake somebody over the coals, family or non-family in our organization for making a mistake. We definitely work on continuous improvement and hope we don't make the same mistake twice, kind of thing. And but it's they're coaching opportunities. I've been coached. I've made lots of small mistakes and little things along the way, and I've needed coaching and guidance all throughout my career, and still to this day, I get that from several people, which is important. So treating everyone within the organization the same, I think is important. And so being able to coach them through and say, yeah, this wasn't the right way to do it. Let's shift it. I think we build a culture around that where every single one of our operations has a meeting every single week to go over anything that's happened in the previous week, things that are coming down the pipeline, and ways that we can improve. And people, it's an open conversation. I was on one of our calls right before this, and one of our managers said, "Hey, I'm going to throw myself on the bus here. I should have done this and this and this, and it created this issue for us, and we could have dealt with it a little bit differently." Having a culture where people are feeling free to share the, "Hey, I messed up a little bit over this past week," or whatever it was, and how do we fix this as a team? I think allows you to continue building success. People are going to make mistakes. Again, we all do.
Yeah.
So yeah, we want to treat everyone like family. We got the third generation coming in. My son started working with us in January this year, so hopefully, I've learned enough where I can pass along some good things to him, and also make sure that the accountability is there in the right way. But again, Mike Mayo, our VP of Operations, he's been holding me accountable for a long time. We have our director of customer service, a lady named Kisa Smith. Her and I were on a production line together back in like 99, 98. She's grown up to be our director of customer service now, and we came up through it. And we both hit bumps along the way, I'm sure. I'm sure she's got her own stories that are outside of what I would say, but yeah, it's fostering an environment of growth. Accountability is important, and we hold people accountable, and we set an expectation. But it's not, I guess, to use your shoot, ready, aim method. We're not going to shoot you first, right? Let's walk through this and figure out how we can make some
Yeah.
changes, bring it back in, and help people grow, because we've all been there. We've all had to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or you're not doing anything.
it could be. Yeah, I mean, you got to make a couple along the way. I think
Yeah.
you don't want them to be catastrophic, but yeah, I think if the culture is I can't mess anything up all the time, that's a tough culture.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Um, so one last question I love to ask people, favorite podcast and or favorite new tech that you're using, like an app or something. And I was on a group. There were it was like 10 people. It was kind of a speed dating thing, and you couldn't say um Google, Chat GPT, or Slack. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought I was cutting edge for saying I'm using
Yeah.
Slack. But if there's any apps or new, tools you're using, or even podcasts, I know a lot of people our age are not listening to podcasts. I mean, I wasn't 5 years ago, but now I'm using it for business development and learning and all kinds of different things. So, favorite podcast?
Gosh.
Uh,
Favorite podcast or new techs? I tend to, while I'm driving, when we're on longer trips, my wife likes to listen to New Heights, and so that I think that's a great podcast, and I think it's fun to listen to. I love the Joe Rogan's podcast, so I think both those are good for me. I enjoy listening to them, but I'm not someone who's going to sit down and listen to a lot of podcasts. If I have time, to be honest, and there's something outside of work or that piques my interest, I like cooking, so I like to make something, go home, and that's how I prefer to spend my time if I'm not sitting here doing things like this or trying to drive the business. Give me a bottle of wine and let me make some homemade pasta or something. Figure out something new to create in the kitchen. I'd rather do something along those lines.
that is a dynamite answer. What kind of wine? I'm in Napa, so I never intended to be a wino or a wine
Yeah.
connoisseur. But in 30 years, I've had to become one. What?
So I like most wines. It's seasonal. Obviously, we not that we have a lot of seasons out here, but I think we have about two and a half of them. I'm pretty close to you outside of Napa, but I love Cabernets and Zins. Really like Chimney Rock is probably one of my favorite off the Silverado Trail over there. I think they do a fantastic job. Ron Bauer is always a good one, a good Chardonnay out here. It works out pretty well during the summertime, but yeah, no, I'm not that picky, I guess. I'll drink most of them.
Yeah, we're Napa Valley Cab or Napa Valley Cab.
Yeah.
There's some good ones in Paso Robles, and then Sonoma. Sonoma actually has really good wine, but it's funny you live here and you just get and I would have never thought I could tell the difference, but we do.
I can.
Like,
I gotta say, so if you ever get a chance to get out to Danville, I think they have one in Orinda maybe as well. There's a place called Locanda Ravello, and this group from Italy had opened up some restaurants out here. They do a great job, but they have a lot of Italian reds that my wife and I have actually really learned to enjoy. There's just they drink a little different, maybe a little more earthy, but there's the next day, I think there's a little bit of a difference in how you feel. I don't know. They don't hang around quite as long, I guess.
yeah, well, that's what I have learned that I would drink less and less over the years because
Yeah.
uh well, that's awesome. And so on the cooking, well, that was a phenomenal answer. What do you have a favorite thing you like to cook, or a genre of what do you like?
Yeah. It's so my wife got me some homemade pasta maker and stuff, for Christmas this year or last year, and so I've been working on that. I like to smoke meat, so a lot of meats, whatever it is outside. I like to be out there. I've been working on a gumbo recipe, I think, for the last 6 months, and make everyone try it and test it out and tweaking it as much as I can. So gumbo and jambalaya.
We
Things
we
like that.
just made that. We had some turkey. My wife accidentally bought these. We love these frozen turkey breasts. They're like boneless, frozen, and she found them on sale. She's like, "Well, these things are like half the price." Well, she got them home, and we get them out of the freezer, and they're Cajun. And
Okay.
so she goes, "I don't really like Cajun turkey, but I love jambalaya." So she got online and found it. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're smoking your own stuff.
I am. Yeah, I smoke most of my own meats, and yeah, I enjoy being out at the smoker. And it's I believe in the true smoke still. So getting wood and actually cutting it up, and I think the Traegers are probably a much more convenient and nice way to go and still get the flavor. But I enjoy like just a big old dirty smoker that's you stick wood in, and it gives you more of a reason to go out and check it with a glass of wine or a beer versus
Uh-huh.
the Traeger where you can set it and forget it. I mean, I
Yeah.
need an excuse to go outside.
Yeah. So is yours home? What brand is or did you make it out of
No,
gallon barrel or what? What?
gosh, it's a pick, guys. It's just a big 60-inch
Yeah.
grates inside and deep, and yeah,
Awesome.
it's pretty plain. It's just a big box.
Awesome. Well, that's a great Jeremy Van Puffelen, Prism Logistics, and it's Prism Logistics. What's the website again?
www.prismlogistics.com.
All right, and we'll have that on the show notes too. But Jeremy, this has just been awesome. Thank you for sharing all your insights and stories, and I really appreciate you joining us here on the Dow Pizza.
Well, I appreciate it. Good opportunity, and thanks for the time.
All right, we'll check.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Tao of Pizza podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.